Welcome, everyone. Today we're taking a closer look at Jamaica's 2025 general election scheduled for September 3rd. The excitement is tangible, and both major party supporters believe their party has a chance. We look at this election through the lens of the 13 keys to the presidency. Yes, you heard that right. The 13 keys to the presidency. You might be saying, we don't have a presidency, not yet at least. But this model, developed by American professor Alan Lichman, has been used to forecast US elections with surprising accuracy for decades. Instead of relying on polls, it looks at deeper structural conditions. We can adapt the keys to Jamaica by asking, does the incumbent party, the Jamaica Labour Party, led by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness, hold the advantage, or is the challenger, the People's National Party under Mark Golding, in a stronger position? The rule is simple. If six or more keys are false, the challenger is favored. If fewer than six keys are false, the incumbent has the edge. Let's go through each of the keys one by one and see what they reveal about Jamaica's 2025 election. Now, quick disclaimer, this has nothing to do with my political bias. Everything here is based on the application of the 13 keys to Jamaica's 2025 general election. And so with that, we'll get started. The first key is the party mandate. The definition of this key is, has the ruling party gained strength since the last election? Now, the 2020 election was one of the biggest wins in Jamaica's modern history, giving the JLP more than two-thirds of the House of Representatives. Since then, no by-elections or defections increased their numbers. If anything, the political balance looks tighter going into 2025. And so this key would not be in the JLP's favor if the result is false, because they haven't actually gained strength since the 2020 election. Second key is the contest key. The definition of this key is, was there a serious internal leadership fight for the ruling party? So think back to when Andrew Holness was challenged by Audley Shaw. And in this time, there was no internal leadership fight in the ruling party. Internal party splits can weaken incumbents both in Jamaica and worldwide. And in Jamaica's past, leadership rivalries have sometimes shifted electoral fortunes. But this time, both major parties went into the election relatively united. Unity helps the JLP focus on the national campaign without any internal distractions. And so this key would rule in the favor of the Jamaica Labour Party, which means it's true. Third key is the incumbency. The definition of this key is the sitting head of government, the candidate for re-election. Now, incumbency brings visibility, control of the agenda, and daily presence in the news. Voters know the incumbent well. That can be both a strength and a liability. Globally, incumbents often have an advantage just by being the known quantity, but they also carry the full weight on their record. However, when it comes to this key, being incumbent means that you're going to get the key in your favor. And so Dr. Andrew Holness, he is the prime minister going into election. You know, there's no change in the head of the party. So it's not like when Bruce Golding was prime minister and then, he stepped down and Andrew Holness took over. That would, if it was a situation like that, the incumbency key would not go in the JLP's favor. But since that's not the case, it does go in the JLP's favor, and the result is true. The fourth key is the third party key. It's one of the easiest keys to call. The definition is there a strong third party or independent campaign? Now, Jamaica's politics has long been dominated by two parties. And it's not just Jamaica, even the United States, it's between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. But here in Jamaica, there are small parties do exist, but haven't gained much more than the minimal national support. And this makes the voter choice clearer. It's between the JLP and the PMP. And when there's not a strong third party, it goes in the favor of the incumbent party. And so in this case, it the key is true and it goes in the favor of the Jamaica Labour Party. The fifth key is the short term economy. The definition for this key is the economy in recession during the campaign. A recession can be politically devastating. Voters often push out governments when jobs and growth collapse. For Jamaica, not being in a recession avoids a worst case scenario. That said, many families still feel the pinch of rising food and energy costs. Voters don't just look at GDP, they vote based on how their pockets feel. However, based on the definition of this key, it deals with recession during the campaign. And currently in Jamaica, there is no recession. GDP is growing modestly. Inflation is stable around 3%, and the unemployment numbers are low. So this would also go in favor of the Jamaica Labour Party, and the result is true. Sixth key is the long-term economy. The definition of this key as economic growth during this term equaled or exceeded the previous two terms. Over the past decade, both PMP and JLP administrations have worked to stabilize Jamaica's finances. That long term reform continues to pay off. Jamaica is now seen as a global example of debt management and fiscal discipline. But while the big picture looks positive, the long term economic gains don't always translate into daily life improvements for all Jamaicans. Despite that, based on the definition, growth has slowed post pandemic, but debt to GDP has dropped and unemployment is historically low. And so this key would go in favor of the incumbent, the Jamaica Labour Party. The result is true. Seventh key is policy change. Did the government deliver a major transformative policy breakthrough? Transformative policy means big historic shifts, like new constitutions, debt restructuring, or sweeping reforms. The JLP has emphasized continuity and steady management instead. Some voters may see this as stability, others may see it as lack of boldness. And so, in terms of the definition, the JLP, yes, they've pursued steady reforms, but no single landmark breakthrough. And so the result would not go in their favor. This key is false and it goes against the Jamaica Labour Party. The eighth key is the social unrest. The definition was the country free from sustained, listen to the word, sustained unrest. Social stability is important for investor confidence and public confidence alike. While there are frustrations over crime, wages, and services, no large destabilizing movement has disrupted government. This works in the government's favor under the keys. So Jamaica has not experienced nationwide unrest. And so, again, this goes in the favor of the Jamaica Labour Party. The result is true. Ninth key is scandal. I believe a lot of voters have this in their mind as they head to the voting polls. The definition: has the administration avoided major scandal? No, the SSL fraud scandal raised oversight concerns. Even without direct government involvement, the scandal impacted public confidence. Usain Bolt's involvement made it a headline story at home and abroad. And in politics, perception matters, even if the responsibility is complex. Historically, scandals in Jamaica have sometimes hurt administration when voters link them to poor governance. And so, when it comes to the scandal key, it does not go in the favor of the Jamaica Labour Party. The key is ruled as false. All the keys are nearly finished. Now we're at the 10th key, which is foreign or security failure. The definition: did the government suffer a major foreign or security failure? Now, crime remains a major concern in Jamaica, but the recent decline in murders is notable. Security improvements, even if modest, count as avoiding failure in this model. There has been no foreign crisis to disrupt the government's standing. And so Murders have declined in 2025 and no foreign policy crisis has occurred, which means that this key would also go in the favor of the Jamaica Labour Party. The result is true. Key 11. Foreign or security success. Did the government achieve a major foreign or security success? And this is one of the sharpest year on year homicide declines worldwide. Some parishes recorded over 50% reduction. For a country long plagued by high crime, this qualifies as a historic achievement. While challenges remain, in Jamaica's context, this stands as a major success. And so this key would be in favor of the incumbent party, as Jamaica recorded a historic 40 to 50% drop in murders in 2025, the lowest levels since 1991. The US has also upgraded Jamaica's travel advisory, citing improved safety. Key 12. Incumbent charisma. Definition. Is the incumbent leader exceptionally charismatic? Charisma in this model refers to leaders like Michael Manley in the 1970s, or if you want to look like in the American context, like a Ronald Reagan, Barack Obama, figures who inspire extraordinary emotional loyalty. Dr. Andrew Holness is widely viewed as competent and steady. He's very well respected, but I believe the scandal key does affect his public perception. And so when it comes to this key, it would not rule in the favor of the incumbent, would rule in favor of the People's National Party. And so the result of this key is false. Key 13, challenger charisma. The definition of this key is the challenger exceptionally charismatic. This favors the incumbent because the challenger does not come with overwhelming personal appeal. Jamaican elections in the past have sometimes been shaped by leaders with large personal followings. This is not the case here. Mark Golding isn't a Porsche type of leader. He is seen as credible by his base, but not seen as transformational. And so the key goes in favor of the Jamaica Labour Party. The result is true. And that's it for our 13 keys. Now we'll move on to the scorecard and the conclusion. Now, true keys, these are the keys that favor the incumbent. These keys are the contest, incumbency, third party, short term economy, long term economy, social unrest, security failure, security success, challenger charisma. And the keys that go against the incumbent are the party mandate, policy change, scandal, incumbent charisma. With only four false keys, and remember, in order for a political earthquake, as they call it, to occur, the incumbent needs to have six keys against them. In this case, the JLP has four false keys against them, so they go into the election with the structural advantage. The keys, though, don't guarantee victory, but they do show that unless the balance shifts, the government goes into this election with the edge. And that's the 13 keys applied to Jamaica's 2025 election. The framework doesn't rely on polls or campaign ads. It looks at deeper forces that shapes the election. So let me know what you think. Do you agree with how the keys are applied here? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Most importantly, whichever party you support, make sure your voice is heard. Vote on September 3rd.